Welcome back, guys. I'm here today with a friend, Marina, and she is also my doctor, my osteo. And today is going to be a bit different. It's going to be a different episode where we talk about becoming a doctor, owning a business, and specialising in pregnancy care. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime. So I wanted to kind of start on asking you about your education journey and what kind of inspired you to become an osteo?
So I guess I just, like everyone, finished year 12, was like, what do I do with myself?
Yeah.
And actually I wanted to be a speech pathologist,
No way.
which is so random. But I always wanted to be in that health field. But I remember being at a barbecue, like a family barbecue, and a family friend of ours was like, I'm an osteo and I work half days. And I was like,
Oh my God.
that sounds amazing. At 18, you're like, oh,
That's
half
perfect.
day is perfect. And then I changed my preferences around
No way.
from speech path to osteo as number one. I got in and then
Amazing.
that was it. Like I loved it. I didn't know much about it. Like a lot of people don't know.
I didn't until
an
I
osteo
started
is.
getting treated.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But I loved it. The course was great. Made some great friends and
It's so good. Like uni life, I feel like you really become yourself.
oh yeah.
Whereas school, it's kind of like, not that you're stuck with that friendship group, but you're stuck with the same people for 7 years. But at uni, you can actually pick your friends.
Yeah.
You meet new people.
Yeah. And
it's good.
everything at school is so like structured.
Yeah.
Whereas uni, you have a bit more of that flexibility to,
Yeah.
either go to class or not or,
And actually put in the work. So if you're interested, then you actually study.
Yeah,
I
100%.
don't know about you, but in school, I wasn't a massive studier.
Yeah, I was.
Oh, okay. So I was like complete opposite. Hated school.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I got into my degree, I was like, oh, I love it because
Yeah.
this is what I'm actually passionate about.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no point like going into a uni degree and hating it. You're just going to hate your job and then be in
literally.
that cycle, which sucks.
Yeah. Did you have to treat people in uni?
Yeah, so I think it was second day or something like this. Mind you, we're all 18. We get into this class full of students and our lecturer or teacher at the time was like, all right, everyone down to underwear. And we were all like, what do you mean?
Mind you, also coming from like a Coptic background.
Yeah.
That's a bit.
I know. It's like, what do you mean? And she pretty much was like, well, this is what the next 5 years of uni is going to be like because it's so practical. There's just no point doing theory 24/7. Like it has to be practical.
Well, that's literally as soon as you finish, you can treat people. So
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah. And honestly, after that like first week, you get so used to it. Like you just walk into class, tops are off, you're treating each other, different bodies, men, women, like it's just
And just becomes like a vessel. Like you just have to touch, like you just treat the body. It's not like, oh, this person's got a good body. It's like, it's just a body.
No, yeah, you don't think about it like that at all. It's
That's crazy.
weird. Yeah. In the beginning you do because you're like, ooh,
Yeah.
a boy.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes like
Work.
a body. Yeah.
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 That's crazy.
It is.
Yeah, I always thought like when I get treated by someone, do they feel awkward touching me? Like that personal space boundary?
No, I think if anything, it's maybe more awkward for the patient because they don't do that on a daily.
Yeah.
Or, maybe no one but your partner sees certain parts of your body and things like that. But no, for us, like we've just seen it all. Everything, the farts during treatment, everything. And you
People
you get so used to it. Yeah, it happens.
Oh, I guess that's a compliment. They're relaxing.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. I remember the first time Marina treated me, I was like obviously really scared because I didn't know what the treatment was going to be like.
You were in pain, right?
So much
That was
pain.
like a bad
That was a really bad episode.
Yeah.
And I just remember that the room was really dim and it was like just inviting. And I think that's something really cool about your business. It's like it's a very comfortable space.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think you've done like that really good.
Thank you. I think it's really important. Like you don't want to walk into the thing is when you're getting an osteo treatment or a massage or whatever it is, you don't want to feel like you're walking into a hospital.
Yeah.
or like a GP clinic. It's very different.
Yeah.
You want to be relaxed, and we need to know so much about you and your history and things like that in order to be able to treat you well.
Properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Mm.
So there's like a few things that I've written down that I will just go back and looking at. So once you finished your degree, where was your mind at? Were you working at a clinic or
Yeah. So basically in my final year of uni, I interned all year at another clinic.
Wow.
And then they offered me a full-time position. So when I graduated, I worked there and I loved it there.
That's
honestly,
amazing.
nothing but good things to say about that clinic. I loved it. So I was there about, I think it was 3 or 4 years.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
Yeah, and just gaining experience, treating absolutely everyone and anyone.
Yeah.
And that's where I started to develop a little bit of interest in pregnancy and women's health, pelvic health and clinical Pilates and that whole like realm of things. So I loved it there. And then COVID happened. And then
I didn't know that's when the business opened.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm so lucky and my husband's so lucky that we got to work throughout all the lockdowns because we both work in healthcare.
Oh my gosh. So you had some sense of normal.
Yeah, we were both
life.
going to work every day. Like no one was working from home, nothing like that.
Oh, wow.
It's just that we would come home and then
not be able to go out or
exactly. But for us, we were very lucky. So I was still driving to that clinic and that was about 45, 50 minutes away from home.
Oh, wow. So
but I was loving the no traffic. It was so good. But basically because all we could do in that time was just walk, basically, like after work, we noticed this like office space that was for lease, which you now know as the clinic. And we were like, oh, should we, shouldn't we? Like we're in the middle of a pandemic.
This is how it started.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we were just like, oh, it's such a good space, so close to home, blah, 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 blah. We looked at some of the competition in the area. There wasn't much. And one thing led to another and we spent the lockdowns just planning and consulting with fit out companies and builders and signed a lease and then hoped that when it was all done, lockdown would be over, and that's what happened. So we were so lucky.
That was meant to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did you come up with the name? Oh, the name is Exceed Health Hub.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know. I definitely came up with it. It was me.
And if we ask Carl, will he say he came up with it?
He'll probably back me up on that.
Okay, yeah.
I actually don't know.
It's a good name.
We had it for so long. Like I think
really?
even like a couple of years before all of that happened.
Like it was a thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
So yeah, we just wanted something that was like going beyond like exceeding health.
Yeah.
And then we didn't want to name it something with the word osteo in it because we didn't want to close
Confined
off.
it,
Yeah. So
because it's definitely not just an osteo clinic.
No, we do clinical Pilates. We have massage therapists, myotherapists. So still all in the same
room.
Yeah, exactly. But
the clinical Pilates are really good as well.
Yeah.
And they're pretty intimate. So you have that time with, would you say, an instructor? Are you guys instructors as well as?
Technically, we're all allied health practitioners.
Yeah.
But yeah, technically clinical Pilates instructor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like there's one bed, but normally if you do it with two people, someone's doing something else on like the floor or what's that machine?
The Wonder Chair.
Yeah, the Wonder Chair.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, 2 people max in a class, which is nice.
It's nice and intimate because you can still ask questions if you're doing it correctly.
Yeah.
We were laughing a lot of the times in ours.
Well, you were doing it with your sister. So
it became like, that could have been a podcast in itself.
I used to love like when I'd see that you guys were coming in for Pilates, I'd be like, yes.
You know, you'd have some laughs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I guess when you start a business, it's like not just as easy as finding the space and the planning.
Yeah.
What are some of the key challenges that you maybe came to see or that you currently have?
I guess in the beginning it was financial.
Yeah, of course.
Because I wanted to leave my job in order to give the new clinic 100%.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't think I could do like 50% there and 50% here.
Because then you wouldn't give 100% to your business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for the first time having overheads like rent and insurances and all of these expenses that you have to pay every month.
I didn't even think of insurances.
Yeah. Oh, that's just like one part of it. There's like electricity and then we had to do the fit out itself. So when we leased the space, it was just an empty shell. And so going through a fit out process, like building each wall and designing a reception desk and all of that, it's not cheap. It's cheaper to get into a space that's already got
The fit out.
some sort of layout.
Yeah.
So financial was a big thing, but I'm very lucky to have a husband, and we just
Shout
rely.
out to Carl.
Shout out to Carl for funding Exceed Health Hub. But that was a challenge. And then for the whole first year, I didn't pay myself. So we were living off his income.
Wow.
Yeah.
Marina.
You have to.
That's insane.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. And it was after COVID too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So we were like just scraping through. But lucky for us, the business just built up so quickly. Like we haven't even been open for 2 years now. Our 2 years is coming up in March.
I would not have thought.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's been amazing.
So if you guys ever do get treated there,
yeah.
you would think the establishment's been there for like 15 plus years. It's so seamless.
Thank you.
I swear to God, I didn't know it was only 2 years old.
Yeah, it's very fresh.
Are you going to do a birthday party?
We always do something.
Okay.
I don't know. Well, by something, last year we just had a balloon in reception and it was just trading as normal. And everyone's like, happy birthday.
Oh, that's cute.
We'll do something. Yeah, we haven't really thought that far ahead because there's a lot
should do
happening in between.
Yeah, I know. So speaking of what's happening in between,
Yes.
what's happening?
Well, I'm 36 weeks pregnant at the moment, so I'm on maternity leave. So yeah, just trying to set up the business for me to step away.
What does that actually mean though? You're on maternity leave, but you're a business owner.
Yeah, leave isn't exactly leave. I'm still in there probably every couple of days
Yeah.
doing something. I'm
Thank
just not
God
treating.
it's so close.
Yeah, it's literally so close to home, so I just walk there. There's just always something to do.
Of course. And I feel like
Yeah.
you being an owner, like an employee would walk in a room and they would be like, okay, like this looks amazing. Like everything's perfect. You can walk in the exact same room and pick up like 7 things that need to be done.
Yeah, I'm like, this isn't where this belongs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
But we have such a good team. So like,
do.
I feel so lucky in that
Yeah.
I could go on a 2-week holiday right now and
And not
everything
worried.
would be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just so good. We're very, very lucky. So yeah, at the moment it's just stock orders, training. We've got some new staff coming on board, picking
That's
up some of my
exciting.
hours. Pays, doing pays, things like that. So
Yeah.
nothing too strenuous.
Yeah.
I stopped treating at 30 weeks.
Okay.
Which
How
was
did you
pretty early.
Yeah. How did you feel treating while pregnant? Like, did it change the way you treated?
I felt fine. It changed a little bit in that I wouldn't do certain techniques where I'd have to lift a patient
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
because there are some like manipulations where you literally lift the patient's body weight and
Yeah,
you do a
wow.
little crack. And so I wouldn't do any of that.
Yeah.
And actually, it was so funny. Our remedial massage therapist, Nick, who's about to become an osteo, there was one day before I told anyone I was pregnant, and we would just jump into each other's rooms when we're quiet and be like, "Can you do this? Can you do that?" And he's
I
like,
think that's the best thing ever.
"Oh, it's the best. Such a good work
But
environment."
also, like, you guys treat so many patients during the day.
Yeah.
You need the treatments.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. We all get treated so often. But yeah, Nick came in and he's like, "Can you give me a quick lift? Like my back really needs it."
Is that when you lift them up? Like,
Yeah.
literally. Okay. Yeah.
And he's a big guy. And I was like, how can I get away with this? So I pretended to do like a really bad one on him.
Oh,
And he's just looking at me like,
I know you're better than
what
this.
was that? I was like, I can do your neck though. And then I just manipulated his neck. And then afterwards, when I told him that I'm pregnant, he was like, that makes so much sense. I was like, what happened to her?
So funny.
But yeah, just adjusted a couple of things. Lucky for me, I felt really, really good, touch wood, knock on wood,
Touch the pot.
for all of my pregnancy. So I wasn't sick first
That's
trimester.
amazing.
I was worried about that because it was like, how am I going to
Treat
treat my
And-
patients and not feel well?
And because you treat pregnant women, you would see such a wide range of pregnancies and like you would know a lot about pregnancy.
So much.
So you would know because I think you're like a psychologist as well, where like your patients would sit down on the bed and they would start opening up because they're vulnerable and it kind of just makes sense.
Yeah. I love it though.
Yeah. And then you would hear like if someone has been sick their first trimester or whatever. So obviously like those are normal thoughts.
Yeah.
To be like, how am I going to react to pregnancy?
Yeah. I've seen it all, like women with HG, so hyperemesis, and they come in and they really need a treatment, but they need the bin right next to them because they'll likely throw up.
Yeah, wow.
Or, you know, you came in once and like could barely walk.
Literally. So I might talk about how I even found out about Exceed Health Hub. So my husband, Angelos and Marina, they grew up together. They were best friends growing up. Yeah. So it's so sweet that we have finally connected.
Yeah.
But I was experiencing severe pain on my right side of my body, my lower back. And it came around week 12, week 13. And I had no clue what this pain was. And previously I saw a chiro, one of my good friends, Rami, and I've never seen an osteo. But for some reason, I was really scared about getting cracked while I was pregnant. So I went on Google and I was looking up like pregnancy care and Exceed Health came up as like one of the top ones. And then I was like, this sounds familiar. And then I went on, I think it was your Instagram or maybe I used to follow Martha. I've unfollowed all like influencers now because it actually gets a bit hard with Leon.
Yeah.
Like influencers that have babies. Like I'm just giving myself a break. But I actually really love Martha's content.
She's great.
Yeah. So I think she posted that she got treated by you.
Yes, she came to the clinic. Yeah.
And I remembered the name when I was on Google and I was like, oh my God, I think that's Marina, like Angelos's old friend.
Yeah.
I think it's her clinic. And then I was reading your website about what pregnancy care you offer. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to book it. Hopefully it works.
Yeah.
And I remember walking in the clinic greeted by a really beautiful smile and she was so friendly. And I remember like not even being able to stand up straight. And I walked out feeling so much better.
Yeah.
The next day or that night I was in a bit of pain, but you said that was normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
you said just put heat on it and the next day I'd wake up feeling better.
Yep.
The next day I went to the gym and I felt so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
And then I found out that apparently it's called pelvic girdle pain.
Yes.
Which who knew that was a thing?
It's such a thing and it's so common.
Why
pelvic girdle pain is like an umbrella term.
Yeah, okay.
For pain throughout pregnancy in the hips, the pelvis, the sacrum. So it can actually be other things. Like it can be a dysfunction in your SIJ joint, and I won't get too technical and stuff like that. But it's so common, and it's because everything's shifting, plus the hormone relaxin, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard of. But basically, when you're pregnant, this hormone floods the body, and it just allows your joints to expand to make way for baby.
Yeah, makes sense.
But as nice as that sounds, like expanding and stretching and all of that, it causes pain. Yeah. Because your joints are supposed to be stable.
Okay.
That's and then the role of joints is to be stable for your body. So once they're not stable, things just move differently, your muscles act differently, your ligaments are different. And then basically
you need to see
you're just in pain. Yeah. Which is so common, and it sucks because a lot of people just put up with it for their whole pregnancy as well, which
I
don't have to.
Honestly, don't think I could have gotten through pregnancy without you. Like I was seeing you, I'm going to say minimum 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Pilates as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like going in the clinic for either a treatment or Pilates.
You were always in.
I literally was. I spent my whole pregnancy there because it literally that was the only thing that made me feel really good afterwards.
Yeah.
Like getting into a pool makes me feel really good.
Yeah.
Like when I was pregnant, like it relieves like the heaviness.
So good.
But the other thing that I was treating was, going to get treatments.
Yeah. Yeah. But you were really committed as well.
Yeah. And I think that's really important for when you're delivering. Would you agree?
100%.
Yeah.
So much of what we do, particularly towards the later stage, mostly in Pilates, I'd say,
Yeah.
but in treatment too, is birth prep.
Yeah. Make sure your hips are aligned. Like I didn't realize how important. I didn't even know your hips could go out of a line. Like you just
Yeah.
think that they're straight, you know?
Yeah, well, there's discrepancies, and
Yeah.
sometimes you're stronger on one side or you favour one side.
Yeah.
And then you'd be surprised in labour if you're pushing how that actually affects things.
Yeah.
Like you're just one side's working better than the other.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff you need to work on during pregnancy to
Yeah.
just ensure, if you can, the safest and kind of smoothest delivery that you can.
And also like pelvic floor health. I did not realize how important it was.
Yeah.
And thank God I found out early because I gave natural birth, as
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's purely because of how much pelvic floor like workouts and stuff.
Yeah.
I had an overactive pelvic floor.
Yeah, so
I
common.
so I had to make sure that I wasn't overworking it
Yeah.
when I was pregnant. But as you said, your muscles relax. So I feel like I didn't do too much
Yeah.
or too little.
Yeah.
And I kind of kept it in a stable way.
Yeah, well, for you personally, you didn't really need to work on strengthening your pelvic floor.
Yeah.
Because your strength was there.
Yeah.
It was more the relaxation component, which is just as important
Yeah.
in labour.
And no one
'cause you need
tells
to
you
relax.
that. Literally, you need to relax your pelvic
Yeah.
floor in order to be able to push out
Yes.
your baby.
Where the strong pelvic floor is important is your recovery a lot of the time.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's not the actual labour.
yeah.
I mean, you want to be midline for everything. You want everything to work as it's supposed to. But so many people put such a focus on having a strong pelvic floor and then they get overactive because it's a muscle. You're just training it.
Yeah.
And then they just can't relax because when you contract your pelvic floor, you're lifting up towards your head.
Oh, yeah, that makes so much sense.
And so
then
how's that going to work with pushing
out a baby.
out?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
After I delivered Leon, I was like really worried like if anything happened with my pelvic floor, like in the sense like am I going to pee myself when I run, or because you hear these stories where women go for runs after and they like pee, or they'll just be walking and like a bit of pee comes out.
Yeah.
I was like not even a week postpartum, so obviously very early.
Yeah.
And mind you, my postpartum was obviously very different. But I remember my sister made me laugh at something and I was like, stop, you're making me pee. And I got so scared from that moment because I'm like, oh my God, does this mean like I've ruined my pelvic floor?
Well, I mean, your pelvic floor goes through so much trauma when a baby's pushed out.
But I'm glad to tell you, my doctor, that 6 weeks after and I did my first run, I did not pee and I was fine.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Good.
That's amazing for
That's actually
women.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's so common.
So common.
I remember when I was studying my pelvic floor, pelvic health course, because I do internal exams and stuff like that at the clinic as well. But I was explaining to my mum like what pelvic health is and stuff. And I was like, like when women particularly like pee themselves. And she was like, that's normal.
Oh,
She's like, that's just a
that
part
generation.
of it. I know.
Oh, that actually makes me just want to hug them. Like,
I know. And that's the thing, like so many, particularly that generation, are like, that's
normal
part
life.
of it.
Yeah.
Like you've pushed a baby out. I'm like, but
Wow.
it's not normal. And then that's where that sort of like education needs to come in.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I didn't get treated around the 12, 13 mark, I don't think I would have learnt this much
Yeah.
to help me recover after childbirth.
Yeah.
I
And I
think-
remember you saying to me after everything happened with Leon, you were saying like labour was so good.
Yeah, I had the
loved
best.
it and I had the
Yeah.
best labour. And I was just like, that is so nice to hear, obviously.
Literally
Yeah. And
4 pushes and
Exactly.
2 breaths and he was delivered.
Yeah.
Like, and I was really shocked because I only had they classified it a 2nd-degree tear, but it was only 2 centimeters.
yeah, it's nothing.
Which is tiny. And it was internal and they did like they were like, we could leave it or we could stitch it.
yeah. And that's how you know it's not a big deal.
And then I was like, I don't know, like, what do you recommend? And they were like, well, just stitch it so then there's no chance of anything going wrong.
Yeah.
But I didn't even feel the stitches, didn't see the stitches, nothing.
great.
But I don't think that would have happened if I didn't actively throughout my pregnancy. And before my pregnancy, I was working out a lot, but I think it was very different, my workouts, when I got pregnant.
Yes.
To the point where I had no ab separation because I think I was listening to you on the Pilates machine on how to do the exercises properly.
You for life.
I still stuff up the breathing. So Pilates, you breathe differently from weight training.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
And I've been weight training for a while. So I would always breathe the opposite way. Marina's like, no, the other way.
You're doing it wrong. And then I'd just give up and I'd be like, at least she's breathing.
Yeah. She's got breaths happening.
Good times.
Have you been training yourself?
I've been doing some clinical Pilates.
Yeah.
I will admit I've slacked off a little bit.
Yeah, but like when you get this heavy, it's
and it's like the middle of summer.
Yeah.
And look, we have aircon in there. It's fine. It's all excuses. But it's just, I just want to like lay on the couch under the aircon.
Get the rest.
And do nothing. But I have been walking a lot.
Okay, that's
so I'm trying to get that in the morning before it gets too hot.
Yeah.
So maybe every couple of days I'll go for like a big walk.
Yeah.
And I've found that has been so beneficial.
Yeah,
like
that's
just
good.
moving. The
Just
days
moving.
that I don't move,
Do you feel like you
shocking.
Do you get stiff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's mostly in like the ribs and the mid back.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh.
Yeah.
And it's just better for your mental health. Like you just get out.
100%. Yes.
Makes all the difference.
I can't like agree more. Like I feel like once you move your body, even if you're feeling shit and you don't want to move your body,
Yeah.
as soon as you move it, you're like, oh, why didn't I do this earlier?
Yeah.
It feels so much better.
And like you said, going to the pools.
Yeah. Have you been going?
Feels so nice. Yeah, I've only been once.
Okay. Call me when you go. I really like going to the pools.
We were saying, do you remember when we were saying we were like, we need to go together? Yeah. But yeah, you feel amazing. Like just getting in the pool, all that weight comes off. You know, when you go to get out of the pool,
no.
I've nearly stacked it. Like
Yeah.
50
You
times.
actually have to hold on to the rails because the heaviness just comes straight back to you.
So weird.
Yeah. Have you swam in the ocean being pregnant? Because I didn't get an opportunity.
No.
Yeah.
We can't be bothered driving to the beach, to be honest.
I'm nervous. I was nervous getting in the water pregnant at the beach. And I don't know why. It sounds silly. But I feel like it'd be better than chlorine. But I don't know. In my mind, I'm like, oh, what happens if it's dirty? I don't know.
I feel
It's
like
weird.
it's fine regardless.
Yeah, it is.
I think we worry so much about like infection and stuff like that when we're pregnant.
Yeah.
But there's mechanisms in the body to
See,
stop
this is the
you.
doctor's
Stop
point
calling
of
me
view.
a doctor.
I'm just, I appreciate.
No, that's nice.
What's probably the hardest thing about treating in general, like not pregnant or pregnant? Like, how does your body feel? Because like your body goes through a lot when you're actually treating.
Yeah. I think in the beginning it's really hard because it's like kind of taking on a new exercise essentially.
Yeah.
Because it's very physical. But so much of what we learn at uni and through other courses is how to look after your own body. So a lot of the time it might feel like we're putting in a lot of pressure, but really I'm just resting my body weight on you.
Yeah.
Like
okay.
I'm not actually putting in any effort.
Okay.
Yeah.
It
so there's
really
just
feels like a lot.
different
Yeah. Okay. That's
techniques and like having the table at a certain height makes all the difference. If it's too low, I will hurt my back, things like that. So you just learn to adapt. And then like any sort of training, your body gets used to it.
Yeah.
I don't get sore from training anymore.
Oh, thank God.
I used to.
Yeah.
My hands used to hurt, my forearms. I had a shoulder thing in my first year out.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, how am I going to do this forever? But then you get used to it and you have to put in work at the gym and work whatever you choose to do to just ensure that you're strong. So it's not
that's
too
good.
bad, to be honest.
I know this is going to be like a sensitive question.
Okay.
How did you, obviously I can understand that you were really like sad when you heard about Leon, but because you were also pregnant, how did you cope when you heard about Leon?
It was so sad. Like I woke up that morning and was just in bed.
Yeah,
like,
I know. I posted on Instagram.
It was like first thing in the morning.
Yeah, I know.
And I was like, and my husband was like, what? And I was like, no. because originally you posted it on your story, and
Yeah.
I think it was it his hand or his foot or
Yeah,
something
his
like
hand.
that.
Yeah.
And immediate
And the
thought
blanket.
is
She had the baby.
she had the baby.
Yeah.
But then when you actually read your caption,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, my heart just dropped.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you're not the first of patients I've treated that.
See, this is crazy to me.
Yeah, it's happened so much. And sometimes before they come and see me, like we'll go through history and they'll tell me they had a stillborn. And then sometimes it's as normal. We're treating as normal, and then delivery date is approaching, and then you always expect as a pregnancy osteo, you get that photo or whatever, you get the news that, you know, the baby's here, but sometimes the news is that it's a stillborn. So it's happened a few times now. But I think because we have like a little bit of a personal connection, it was just so heartbreaking. And I can't remember where I was in my pregnancy at that point, but maybe like halfway through.
Yeah, I think you and Nadia are very close with dates, right?
Yeah. Yes. So Nadia, 10th of Jan.
10th of Jan is 40 weeks for Nadia.
Yeah. So I'm 10th of Feb.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're like exactly a month.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you hear that stuff, you can't help but think like, oh, this can happen to anyone. This could be me. Like,
literally, like when me and Ange like first posted that, or like no, actually before I even delivered him and we found out his heart stopped. This is going to sound really stupid, but my mind went straight to all the pregnant women I know in my life, and I was like, I don't want them to know, because it's more like a protecting mechanism.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want the bad news to get to them and like stuff with their mind.
Yeah.
Or like I don't want to affect them in any way.
Yeah.
And then when I did post it, I'm not going to lie, like I thought of you. I thought of my I have 4 other friends that are pregnant, and obviously my sister.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just don't want this to affect them and their pregnancies.
I think it depends so much on the person as well.
And because you're in a health field,
it doesn't not
like
that it's
you
not
know the
something-
reality that you've seen other patients go through this.
Yeah.
Which like obviously is a horrible thing, but
Absolutely.
I was really scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a normal feeling.
Yeah.
It's like when people are going through fertility struggles and they're like, I don't want to tell this pregnant friend of mine, or because I don't want them to feel bad and all of that. Like we're always thinking about other people.
Oh, 100%. I think I've noticed recently, like a lot of people have been announcing their pregnancies. And not that me and Ange struggled to conceive Leon, but it's not hard to see, like you're so happy for them.
Yeah.
But it's another reminder of what you want.
100%.
If that makes any sense, without any envy or any jealousy.
No.
It's just I think the world just needs to be more open about, I don't know, our struggles, so then people don't feel alone.
Yeah. And I see that happening more now.
Yeah, it's
Like,
nice.
People are posting their they're like when they're doing their pregnancy announcements, they're doing like a reel of all of their IVF journey at the same time.
Yes.
I'm seeing that so much, which is so nice, because previously they would have just posted the we're pregnant thing, you know?
Yeah.
So people are being like more open about it.
Yeah.
And even like you guys doing this podcast, it's so good. I'm sure it's helped so many people.
Yeah, it's really hard being vulnerable and like actually sharing, but we were like, if we stop this, when like we're not honoring him in the sense of helping other people. Like his whole purpose, or our purpose for him, is to help someone else.
Yeah. And how many people know his name? You know, like I think it's so nice. And I remember when you came in for your first treatment after everything happened, and I was like, you know, I need to ask you some questions like for the health purpose here, but share with me whatever you want to share. And you were like, no, it helps me to actually talk about it. And I was like,
oh, yeah, this was before I recorded the podcast.
Yeah.
You actually were probably one of the first people I told about my delivery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting because it was such a positive delivery in one way.
No, 100%.
But
I can't.
So sad.
Yeah. I can't fault the actual birth, take away everything else. The actual birth, just medically, was textbook perfect.
Yeah, you were like, you've got this.
Yeah. Anyone that needs to talk about birth, come to me, because I'm such an advocate. One, for the gas, two, for the
Yeah.
epidural, but also like it was
100%.
just really good. Yeah. Now that you're getting closer,
Yes.
how are you going with you know, the idea of birth?
Good. I
Yeah.
think I'm like at a good level of educated.
Good. You know your interventions.
Yeah.
You know what they're used
Yep.
for.
Yep. We know.
Did you do the birth class?
We did at the hospital.
Okay. Were you scared after the birth class or were you okay?
I felt so much better.
Okay. We're completely different.
Really?
After I did the birth class,
Yeah.
I was like, the less is more. I don't want to know what forceps look like. Leave me alone.
Actually, that was a bit of a shock seeing what the forceps actually look like.
And the clinking?
Yeah.
Go away.
They're so long.
Go away.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't need to see that.
Yeah, they didn't need to show us.
No, and like pass it around the class.
They did that to us too. I'm like, I don't want to hold these.
You're like, ew. I actually felt better, and so did my husband.
That's good.
Before that, I just felt not like anxious about it, but just like, oh, I really like it's so foreign when you haven't been through it.
But coming from the medical field, it makes sense that once you knew all the interventions and what they used for, it kind of like made more sense.
The more info, the better.
Yeah.
And even just the information around how far epidurals have come in the past like 10 years, say.
Did you know they're mixed?
Yeah.
Okay. So I only found this out very recently, like in Nadi's delivery.
I found out in the course, so maybe.
Oh, no, they didn't mention it to us.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like, I don't know the actual drug term, but it's like, it's mixed with, it's two drugs that they mix together rather than using the one that fully blocks you.
Yeah. It's like a cocktail.
Yeah. And and it's a lower dose of two of the drugs that work together.
Yeah.
Whereas previously, like back in the day when our mums would have had an epidural, it was like more of a complete block.
Completely. I think it was from like chest down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think now they only use that when you need a spinal block, and that's like C-section vibes.
Yeah. Exactly.
But the epidural, like I could move my legs.
Yeah.
Which, you know, back in the day, you hear your mum talk about like when they got an epidural, and she's like, I couldn't feel anything from my toe to like my chest. So it's definitely changed and developed.
Yeah. And that's what I like loved learning about, because I'm personally all for the medical interventions and
100%,
the drugs and stuff
if
you need it. But yeah, just hearing that you can still birth on your side if you want whilst you had an epidural. And
or you can do all fours.
Yeah, if you're strong enough for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought it was great, and we're feeling good about it.
Good.
It's scary, but it's like
birth is
exciting.
So good.
Yeah.
It's like such an empowering thing a woman can go through.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how you birth your child. Either way is still birth.
Yeah.
And take the time for recovery.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Yeah.
I think in this day and age, we all try and jump back into bouncing back and all of that really, really quickly. But
you'll be very surprised how quickly your uterus or like your body kind of like goes back to its natural self.
Yep.
It's only like the extra few kgs like I'm still trying to lose.
Well, I'm always surprised when women come in for like their postpartum checks and stuff at like 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh yeah, because you saw me I think 4 weeks after.
Yeah, I think so. And they just look like they were never pregnant. You're just like, oh, look at that.
Yeah. I think it's more of a fear that the old days but the thing is, like my mum, I can only talk from my like mum and my, you know, that generation. She would just eat potatoes and like really indulge in pregnancy.
Yeah.
And it was really the whole thought of I'm eating for two.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Yeah.
You're not eating for two.
I know. My mum still calls me every day and is like, what have you eaten? Have you eaten more? Eat more, eat more. And it's cute.
It is so cute.
But you don't actually need to eat that much. By all means, indulge if you want to.
Oh, yeah. Have the days.
I have my sweets every day.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I indulge. But you don't need to force it as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. You don't need to force the fact that you're going to eat into a food coma.
Exactly.
Mum's like, I would have a nap every day, should have a nap at 1 o'clock after she ate lunch. And I'm like, do you think you ate too much? And it was always the same thing, fried potatoes. Oh, yeah, I know. Oh, sorry, I'm talking about
That's my weakness in
front of
pregnancy.
a pregnant woman. So more salty?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I first trimester like was off sweets.
Okay.
And I'm such a sweet tooth.
You know, they say, I don't know if this
Boy
is true.
thing?
Yeah, it's a boy thing.
Yeah, they do say that.
Did you know, like, did you have a gut feeling you were pregnant with a boy?
100%.
Me too.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
I was like, it's a boy.
Yeah. And I secretly wanted a boy, but I
Me
didn't want to
too.
admit it
Me
because
too.
I just wanted a healthy baby.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I'm not going to have a preference.
Yeah.
But then when I found out it was a boy, I was like, yes.
This is the best day ever.
Yeah, I want to be a boy mum.
Yeah. No, I was exactly the same. Like, you just have a feeling, I think, sometimes. And
Did Carl have a feeling?
yeah, but he changed it last minute.
Oh, okay.
But I think it was one of those cases where he really wanted a boy. And he
Wanted to change his mindset in case it
he was trying to avoid like disappointment or something. And he sort of like convinced himself it was a girl.
Oh, guys are funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So weird.
So what's next for you? Obviously, you are a mum and motherhood is on the cards.
Yes. 4 weeks to go. Under 4 weeks now.
Hello, welcome back. What?
What's going on?
I don't know.
My phone. Oh, I think I was just playing one of your episodes on Spotify.
Oh my God.
You can tell what I was listening to.
That's love.
I was like, that's Angie's voice.
I know. I was like, hello, that's Ange.
I didn't even realize I touched my phone. What's next?
What's next?
Motherhood, navigating business, balancing things.
Navigating being a mum.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that in
that's
itself
obviously
is-
the biggest thing. And just having our little family and we'll see how it goes. I don't know. There's just so much unknown
Yeah.
that I don't want to put like
Don't put any
pressure or
pressure.
expectations on
No.
anything. I know we're going to have sleepless nights, as everyone likes to
Yeah.
tell you before you give birth. It's
I
like, I'm
feel
aware.
as though those comments are a bit outdated now.
I know.
I feel like we don't need to tell parents they're going to have sleepless nights.
Yeah.
They know babies wake up every 3 hours.
Yeah.
They know babies cry.
Yep.
It's
Part of it.
It is part of it. And, you know, when you're thinking of starting a family, you're obviously preparing yourself for that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
So,
And even if they're crying or you're having a sleepless night, just know the next day, you know, can be a better day.
yeah, one day at a time, I think.
One day at
is
a time,
The
yeah.
motto.
Even 1
definitely.
hour at a time. I know a lot of people close to me, they're like, I can't think too much about tomorrow. Like,
Yeah.
I just need to think about today,
Yeah.
like in the early newborn stages.
Because I think it can get overwhelming. Like if you're thinking
100%.
of a chunk of time,
Yeah.
you're like, this is never going to end. It's even like during pregnancy.
Yeah.
Like if you're having a tough time during pregnancy and you're thinking, oh my God, I have 7 months left of this.
Yeah.
That's going to overwhelm you. But if you're just
Or
one
even
day at a
recovery
time-
from a surgery.
Yeah.
You know, like the first 2 or 3 days, it's like you're in the worst amount of pain. You know, you're stuck indoors and you don't know, you can't see the end.
Yeah.
But then every day you tend to get a bit better.
Yep.
You eat a bit more, go outside for the
Yeah.
first time, and then, you know, you see the sun.
There's always light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. I reckon we've done a really good job.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And next time you're probably on the podcast, we'll have the little baby boy.
We'll chat postpartum.
Yes. Thank you so much. See you guys.
Bye, guys.